Good morning. Welcome to Albany Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I am Reverend Linda Hoddy, one of your co-ministers for this interim year. We aspire to welcoming all people to our services and to the larger life of our community. And I say aspire because we do not always do it perfectly, but we are interested in you and seek to understand and meet your spiritual needs in a safe and loving community. Our theme for this month is hospitality. Today's service will explore how we live out our aspirations to welcome and serve all people, well-known or stranger, strong or weak, of whatever hue or socioeconomic situation, whatever gender identity or sexual orientation, whatever beliefs, whether you are a seeker just beginning to explore spirituality or are pretty sure you know what you believe, whether you identify as a garden variety Unitarian Universalist, or a Christian, or a Buddhist, or a pagan, or Jew, or maybe a shaman, or have not a clue what a religious identity is and don't care. Whether you come in jubilation, ready to celebrate life, or come in despair, seeking comfort, new meaning, and purpose. We are an open community where you can explore spiritually. You can encounter new ideas in freedom to choose what seems most true to you. So welcome everyone to our community. Here in this sanctuary of ancient dreams and wisdom and beauty, we come to grow, to be healed, to stretch mind and heart, to be challenged, renewed, to be helped in our own continuing struggles for meaning and for love, to help build a world with more justice and mercy in it, to be counted among the hopers and doers. In the face of cynicism, darkness, brutality around us and within, we seek to align ourselves with a living community that would affirm rather than despair, that would think and act rather than simply adjust and succumb. Here we invite the spirit of our own humanity and the healing powers under, around, through, and beyond it to give us the nerve and the grace, the toughness and sensitivity to search out the truth that frees and the life that maketh all things new.
Please join us as we light the chalice. The words are in your order of service. Welcoming all free seekers of truth and meaning, we gather to excite the human spirit, to inspire its growth and development, to respond early and ethically to a troubled world, and to sustain a vital and nurturing religious community.
Good morning. I'm Paula Brewer, and for those who don't know me, I assist Elizabeth Valdez in our programs for children and youth. This morning's wisdom tale is Circles All Around Us by Brad Montague and illustrated by Christy Montague. Just waiting for the slides. The circles all around us. Oh, it's up there. Oh, now we have a monitor up there. Yay! I was expecting it down there, but now it's up there. We begin by drawing a circle on the ground along each shoe. A safe place for just one person. Nobody in this circle but you. You could keep that circle closed to everyone but yourself, but that would be like a library with just one book on the shelf. Now you see what all can happen in a circle full of care. it becomes a happier circle as more loved ones come in to stay. And wouldn't it be even better if all your friends could come and play? So you stretch and draw your circle even bigger than it's been, and let a few more people know they're welcome to come in. In the circles all around us, everywhere that we all go, there's a difference we can make and a love we all can show. Yet there are still so many outside the circle who are different in all they do. Though it feels slightly uncomfortable, we draw a bigger circle for them too. It doesn't mean the circle is easy. It gets harder the more we share. But wonderful things can happen when love is known and felt everywhere. As time passes, our eyes open, we see others we really care for. And that's when we ask ourselves, well, what's this circle really there for? So let us create bigger circles all around us for the rest of our days. Let our caring ripple out in a million little ways. In the circles all around us, everywhere that we all go, there is a difference we can make and a love we can all show. As our circles grow and grow, we watch them wonder-eyed. Remember the first circle started with just the love you hold inside.
Two brief stories this morning, one from the Christian tradition and one from the Buddhist tradition. A rich ruler asked Jesus, "Good teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life?" And Jesus answered him with a question which Jesus often did. "Why do you call me good? There is only one who is truly good. If you would enter life, keep the commandments." But the ruler asked, "Which commandments?" Jesus replied, "You know the commandments. Do not commit adultery, do not kill, do not steal, do not bear false witness, honor your father and your mother, and love your neighbor as yourself." And the ruler said, "I have observed all these things since I was a child. What is it that I still lack?" Jesus loved him at first sight and said, "You are missing one thing. Make your move. Sell whatever you have and give the proceeds to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. And then come, follow me." The rich man was stunned by this advice, and he went away dejected, since he possessed a fortune. And looking around, Jesus said to his disciples, "How difficult it is for those who have money to enter God's domain. It would be easier for a camel to squeeze through a needle's eye than for a wealthy person to enter the kingdom of heaven." And don't think afterlife. Think heaven on earth. And from the Buddhist tradition. Once there was a wise woman traveling all through the mountains. One day she found a precious stone in a stream. She was so happy and grateful. It could change her life. The next day she met a man who was also traveling through the mountains. He was hungry, and she was happy to share her food. But as she opened her bag, the man saw the stone. And he knew that with this stone, he would be able to eat all his favorite foods as much as he liked. His mouth watered, imagining all the incredible flavors and all the ways his life would be filled with so much goodness. Instead of the food, He said, "Can I have that stone?" The woman looked at him. Of course. And just like that, it was his. And he was so happy. He ran away quickly, afraid she would change her mind. A few days later, however, the man appeared again, carrying the stone in his hands. "Take it back," he said. "Instead, I hope you can give me something even more precious than this precious stone. I hope you can give me whatever it is within you that made it so easy for you when I asked to just give it away." To sing, "I long to be close to you." Sometimes the pulpit is a little too much distance. So it was a Wednesday morning, and I had just had breakfast at Panera's with Reverend Lynn and Molly, our church president, and I was running late for a meeting with the staff to go over the upcoming service. I was pulling my rolling backpack on Washington, headed for the front door of the church, loaded with books and computer, a large purse on one shoulder, a lunch bag on the other. He was coming toward me, dressed all in black, with black skin, and why is that significant? Glasses, hood over his head, early 20s, a head taller than I. I had planned to rush past him, but he grasped my arm gently and said, "I ain't eaten for 2 days. I'm really hungry. I really want to get me some fried rice and vegetables. You got any money you can spare?" Well, I wanted to just keep going, but I didn't. I stopped. He stood with his hands in his pockets. I looked into his face and saw anguish and humiliation and maybe some desperation and maybe just a little hope. So I put down the lunch bag, let go of the backpack, thinking, I'm so vulnerable. He could grab my purse and run away. He could take my backpack with computer or snatch my wallet. And so my body tensed up as I rummaged in my purse for my wallet. I was thinking I'd give him a 5, but the smallest bill I had was a 10. So I sighed and pulled it out and handed it over. And he grasped the bill between his thumb and forefinger, raised his hands and clapped them with some cry of relief and joy. And anguish changed to exuberance, a big smile on his face. Thank you, God bless you. I started to nod, but his arms came out and he encircled me and kissed my cheek. I was startled, and then he twirled off down the street. As he went, I called out, "Please don't spend it on drugs. Please get yourself a decent meal." "No, ma'am, I don't do no drugs. I don't do that." And he was gone. And I came on into the church wondering, oh dear, should I wash my face? And then, am I being racist for worrying about that? That was the second time I've been asked for money since I came in August. There have now been several asks. Do you have $1 for the bus so I can get home? Would you buy me a cup of coffee? Do you have any spare change? I'm homeless. Can you buy me a meal? So what shall we do about this need surrounding us? Is it enough to rush into our building, averting our eyes, put up a dozen security cameras, as we have now done, keep our doors locked, defend the fortress? When I arrived in August, I quickly realized that the needs of the surrounding neighborhood are much greater than when, in a sermon in 2006, I praised you because you had just made a decision to remain in downtown, to remain an urban church, to not run away from the problems of the city. Do I regret that? Maybe a little. But I really do think you made the right and good decision. I often wake up quite early, 4:30 or 5, and on Tuesdays and Wednesdays I tend to come to work early. At first, when I arrived between 7 and 8, there would be people sleeping under the eaves or in the well. It was common to see clothing and shoes discarded, even needles. Things seem to be better in that regard. Excuse me, now that we have Joe Filippone from Project Safe Point coming by every morning to interact with those addicted to drugs. Sometimes people were shooting up on our property and leaving dangerous needles and unpleasant litter and sometimes even human waste. We don't see them as much now, but there is still a lot of trash and abandoned clothing, and both our custodian and our sexton don gloves and trash bags so that they can safely pick up litter at least 3 days per week. And soon we will have needle disposal kiosks on the property. And just this morning, our sexton reports that he found a dispensed Narcan cartridge on his rounds. Perhaps a life was saved last night from an overdose. And our staff now has Narcan. When I first arrived, the administrator would bang on the windows and yell, "Get off our property! This is private property! Go away!" And sometimes when people were shooting up, she would call the police. And I have a hard time squaring that with getting up on Sunday morning and saying, everyone is welcome here. Welcome in our community of the beloved. I think that sometimes even in churches we get caught in our fear that our churches are dying, fear that our neighborhood is dangerous, fear that we aren't safe coming in and leaving from our buildings. And many of those fears are well-grounded. Like the rich young ruler in the Christian story this morning, on a personal level, we fear loss of wealth, loss of our possessions, loss of our physical health and well-being. And yet, I think we are called to strengthen ourselves spiritually so that we don't operate primarily out of fear. I think of the open-hearted warrior pose in yoga. Anybody know what that's like? Your arms are back, your chest is out, your heart is open, and yet there is strength and almost fierceness implied in the word warrior and in the stance. The writer of 1 John in the Christian scriptures wrote, "There is no fear in love. Perfect love casts out fear." Perfection is hard to achieve, but I think that overcoming fear and expanding love is the very essence of spiritual work. Over and over again, the spiritual traditions encourage us to not be caught in a strictly material worldview, but realize, as did the man in our Buddhist story, that bread alone is not enough. We also need meaning in our lives, and we create meaning through our connections to each other, to all human beings, to the creatures of the earth itself, and eventually to the cosmos. The man in the story wanted not just the food that would nourish his body. He wanted the spiritual strength which the stone represented, the power to easily give away whatever he had. The social researcher and writer Peter Block wrote a book about the structure of belonging, how we come to belong, how we draw our circles. Peter wrote, "Hospitality is the welcoming of strangers, and generosity is an offer of no expectation of return." Well, what is it that empowers us to give easily with no expectation of return? to give to strangers as well as those we already know. How can we move beyond othering? In The Origin of Others, Toni Morrison explores how we humans create arbiters of difference: race, wealth, class, and gender. And we use those to maintain power and control, she says. We use them to draw our circles and decide who's in, who's out. Can we stop othering the people around our building and neighborhood and draw our circles so that we fear them less and love them more? Can we practice the radical hospitality that we preach? I draw most of my spiritual grounding and guidance from the Buddhist and Christian traditions these days. Both Jesus and Buddha are worthy models for our lives. And my ethics are grounded in my faith, which goes something like this. Our first principle calls us to respect and honor the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And our second principle calls for compassion in human relations. And those are principles affirmed in all the world's religions. Not always practiced well, but at least affirmed. And for us in the West, as our fourth source says, Jewish and Christian teachings call us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbors as ourselves. In this worldview, every person is a child of God, and everything is a gift from God, or the universe, if you prefer. But in this worldview, all is gift, all is grace, and therefore it is to be freely shared in whatever ways present themselves. In such simple things as providing a meal or a listening ear, or maybe a job or a prayer. In so simple a thing as hearing the story of a homeless, hungry person, perhaps an addicted person, right in front of me. One of the criticisms of our white culture is that we white people are always in a rush. Time is scarce for us. Just imagine if instead of handing over the $10 and rushing into the building, I had gone with that young man to a restaurant and bought him breakfast and broken bread with him and actually had a conversation. Being generous with my time is almost more difficult than being generous with my money. What if I had treated him as what I believe he is, a precious human being, worthy of love and kindness and compassion and the basics of life and my time and attention? What if I had received him fully as another human being? What if I had fully received that kiss and returned the embrace and said, "You are worth my time and attention and affection. Let me listen to your story. Let me receive and honor your story." Against much advice from Joe Filippone and others, I have decided that I will give when asked, except when it's really obvious that I'm in front of an addict who's most likely to spend the money on drugs. I want to practice what C.B. Beale calls preemptive radical inclusion. She applies it to group life, exhorting leaders to figure out in advance how to involve everyone in all the activities of the congregation and make those changes without attendees having to make their needs known because we have already planned for them. And we can practice that on a congregational level by asking, what are the needs of the people coming in our doors? What are the needs of the people sleeping under our eaves? Is there any more poignant symbol than people seeking refuge under the eaves of a church? Abraham Maslow long ago established that our physical needs must be met before we can think about how to create meaning and purpose. Perhaps the needs of our neighbors are very simple things like a meal, a safe place to go to the restroom, a place to shower or wash clothes or sleep. Have someone acknowledge my humanity and listen to me. There is another dimension of hospitality I'd like to see practiced in congregations, and that is how we receive one another's beliefs. Can we practice spiritual hospitality and generosity by being open and accepting of different theologies, not feeling threatened in our own theologies because someone does or does not believe in God or call themselves Christian or pagan or humanist or Buddhist or shaman or whatever? Can we simply, as Jesus did with the rich ruler, look on another with love and receive each other wherever we are on the path? On an individual level, I'm trying to practice preemptive radical inclusion by carrying money to give away. I know now that I am going to encounter homeless, hungry people in this neighborhood. I can't instantly solve anyone's drug addiction or poverty, but I can anticipate their small needs and be ready to meet them in small ways. When I arrive early in the morning and people are hanging out on our front porch or under the eaves, I try to say good morning. And sometimes when they seem open to it, I try to engage them in conversation, ask them how they are, maybe what they have planned for the day. I tell my husband, when you go to the ATM, bring home 10 $5 bills. And when I leave the house in the morning, I put 2 of them in my coat pocket. I am thereby prepared to give in a small way. I can at least provide a meal or a bus ride or a listening ear, and maybe even give and receive a kiss. I've probably given away money maybe 8 times over the last month or so. And in many cases, I have been rewarded with a face that lights up in delight, and often the words, "God bless you." And I feel humbled by that this person offers me a blessing when their circumstances seem so much more dire than mine. But I hope that my small gift has blessed them, not only with the tangible, but with the intangible, affirming their inherent worth and dignity, including them in the circle of humanity, maybe even connection to a larger love, whether you call it God or nature or universe. Our church has assets, it has resources. We have buildings, and they can be used to meet our needs in the community, and we're making strides in that direction. I praise the team which is working to renew the breakfasts where the community is invited in, and we break bread with them. I praise you for allowing the sanctuary and community hall to be used with and sometimes without remuneration for funerals and weddings and ethnic festivals and LGBTQ events. But we have classrooms downstairs not being used or used for storage. I wonder, could some of that space be used to help meet needs of the area? Our sister church in Auburn, Maine is using some of its space to provide a day shelter a couple days a week where homeless people can come in from the cold and take a shower and launder their clothing. Or what if we just put in a washer and dryer and launder those clothes left behind and donate them to a clothing closet? Radical idea, what about a porta-john, so that human waste can be handled safely, more safely than leaving it on our sidewalk? What if we join with the neighborhood association to adopt Washington Square Park across the street? I notice when I park over there that the benches are in dire need of planting and the flower beds are bare. I was a city planner before I became a minister. I was going to save the world as a city planner, and I left that hoping that I could just save my own soul. I learned that people are much more likely to appreciate something that is done with them rather than for them. It makes sense. Doing with creates connection. Doing for maintains distance. Buddhism teaches that compassion must be balanced with wisdom. And that's kind of what we're trying to do. We're trying to balance compassion and the wisdom of security to overcome our fears through love. And we want to be hospitable and generous, but we also want and need to feel safe entering and leaving our building, and our staff needs to feel safe working in the building at all hours. I believe in incrementalism, baby steps. You've been involved in this community for many years and you've done wonderful work. I took a walk over to Sheridan Academy this week at lunchtime. Beautiful playground. And yet when I arrived here in August, I felt fear and discouragement and disengagement. And part of that was due to COVID. And part of it is that many in our congregation are growing older. We're not as strong physically or perhaps emotionally as we used to be. And yet one of the beautiful things about the spiritual life is that we can grow and deepen our whole lives. Perhaps as we age and our bodies diminish, we experience change more frequently and dramatically, and this can invite us into the spiritual realm. If we are fortunate, it can help us overcome fear of loss and realize that it is all a gift and that precious stone of meaning and spiritual fulfillment is always available through acts of giving and receiving. And we can grow into greater generosity as we approach death, knowing that we will join the larger life and there will be no separation between us and other phenomena. In the Buddhist tradition, it is taught that through practicing compassion, we will come to know that there is no separation between giver and receiver. Giving is viewed to be perfected when the giver and the receiver vanish, when they are one. When that unity is achieved, there is no need or expectation of being thanked. For this reason, the monks with their begging bowls do not say thank you for the alms that are put in the bowls, because they believe it is a way for everyone to practice the ideal of no giver, no receiver. I know that we must take baby steps. We must take that long, loving look at what is real and decide what we can do within our power, within our frailty, within our resources, spiritual, emotional, psychic, financial. But it is my prayer that we might come to dwell in that oneness, knowing no others, no distinction between giver and receiver, and finding joy in the circle that leaves no one outside. Amen.
We have a responsive reading, and it is in your order of service, and I believe it will also be up on the screen. It is called, "We Are All More Human Than Otherwise." I will read the regular print, and then if you would responsively read the italics. The human race is a vast rainbow bursting into view of white and black, red, yellow, and brown.
Yet for all the blood is red, the sky is blue, the earth brown, the night dark.
In size and shape, we are a varied pattern.
Of tall and short, slim and stout, elegant and quaint.
Yet for all, there are fingers to touch,
Hearts to break, eyes to cry, ears to hear, mouths to speak.
In tongue, we are a tower of Babel.
A great jumble of voices grasping for words, groping for ways to say love, peace, pity, and hope.
Faiths compete, claiming the one way.
Saviors abound, pointing to salvation.
Not all can be right, not one.
We are united only by our urge to search.
Boundaries divide us, lines drawn to mark our diversity. Yet a mother's grief, a father's love, a child's happy cry. Strength and weakness, arrogance and humility, confidence and fear, they all live together in each one.
Remind me